A lot of my memories go back to the Boys and Girls Club because it was always there. I was always there. As a child, a majority of my time was spent at and with the people of the Boys and Girls Club. It was part of the first stable and consistent environment I've ever had in my life. But before I joined the club, I lived with my mom. In fact, my earliest memories of life are with my mom. My mother and father never had a stable relationship, so we stayed with him off and on. My mom tried to find a permanent place for us to stay, but things never worked out. She bounced from relationship to relationship, which meant she and I bounced from house to house. There was always a boyfriend around, but never long enough for me to get attached to him. One relationship got so serious that they married, but it wasn't long before my temporary stepdad's lifestyle caught up with him. He had already served an 18-year prison sentence, and not long after they got married, he was arrested and returned to jail. He and my mom split up, and she began another relationship that moved us to Tyler, Texas. My mom was trying to escape her old life and get a fresh start in a new place, but all her old habits just followed us. The relationships continued to flame with different people, but they never lasted. But as men came and went from my life, I had a deep desire for a dad. I would imagine what it would be like to have a father in my life. I played make-believe when I was only 3 or 4 years old, and I would pretend that I had a typewriter and would type up special notes. Then I would run across the living room to deliver the notes to my make-believe dad. I didn't remember my father at all, but there was always the dream of his presence in my life. We continued to move from house to house, sometimes staying in shelters. The men my mom chose always seemed to be bad news and got us into bad situations. I recall one incident when things got violent. We were at some boyfriend's house, and my mom and her boyfriend's sister began arguing. I sat on the couch and watched as they started with yelling, and then it got physical. The lady hit my mom across the head with a lamp, and it went down from there. The next thing I knew, my mom was sitting on the floor near a pool of blood. After that incident, we continued staying at shelters. When you're constantly moving around as a child, you don't have a lot of chances to make a lot of friends. And I remember when I was a kid, and they told me that if I ate the little paper pole that lollipops were on top of, that it would turn into bubble gum. So I didn't have a lot of experience then, so I listened to them, and I ate the paper pole, and it didn't turn into gum. It tasted kind of nasty, but I hold no grudges. When I look back now, I realize how unstable our lives were, but at the time it was all I knew, so it was normal to me. Over the next 2 years, we kept moving from place to place, and during that time, my brother was born. My mom decided that it was too much of a financial burden to care for 2 children, so I was going to move back to live with my dad. Only she didn't tell me that this was the plan. She and I got on a bus in Tyler, Texas, headed for Reno. I had no idea that this would be the last time I'd live with my mom, so I blindly followed her, as most 5-year-olds follow their mothers. Once we got to Reno, we went straight from the bus station to the courthouse, where a man was waiting. She told me that this man was my dad, and at first I was excited. My make-believe world of having a dad was coming true, but in the middle of my excitement, my mom walked away. She didn't say anything. She just left me in front of the courthouse crying. She gave up her right as my legal guardian and left me with a man I felt like I had met for the first time in my life. She left me with a feeling that has not gone away. I used to think she would come back for me one day, that she'd come and take me back, but she never ever came. Life with my dad was very different than with my mom. We lived in one house and didn't move around. We had other family nearby that was a regular part of our lives, like my 2 older sisters, my niece, and my cousins. I was able to make friends and develop real relationships with my peers. It was the first time I had experienced stability and consistency. It was strange at first, but there was something right about it. I also remember being held for the first time by my dad. I was about 6 years old, and we had people over one evening. While he was talking, he picked me up and put me on his lap. And to a 6-year-old, my dad was like a giant. I remember being swallowed up on his lap with his massive arms around me. I sat there for what seemed like forever and eventually fell asleep. I had never been held like that before. I felt so safe and secure there in my dad's lap. All those times I pretended to have a dad couldn't compare to the real thing. That was the first time out of many I knew my dad was always going to be there for me whenever I needed him. I knew he was always going to love me regardless because I was his little girl. Not long after I moved in with my dad, he started bringing me to the Boys and Girls Club. I remember the day he signed me up because I was so excited. It seemed like everybody went to the club, all of my family, friends, and all the kids at my school. Now I got to be a member too. Some kids are really overwhelmed by all the kids and activities on their first day at the club, but not me. I knew so many people at the club that my first day was easy and fun. My niece Jamila was my ambassador. She's only a year older than me. She showed me around and introduced me to other kids and staff. I was at the club all the time after that. One of the best programs I was involved in was Girl Circle. Girl Circle taught us about, girl stuff. Because we're not boys. I love to be able to open up about what was wrong and going on with my life with staff and students. As much as my dad was there for me, there were just certain things he wasn't equipped to help me with. I think he was as grateful to the club for these types of programs like I was. The club also helped me with my homework every day through Power Hour. For each assignment we finished in Power Hour, we earned Power Points that we could spend on prizes at the end of the month. The staff would also give us stickers on a chart for finishing our homework at the club. And I loved seeing those stickers next to my name because they were just so pretty. And in Torch Club, we would do different service projects around the club. I didn't have a lot of responsibility back then, and Torch Club was the beginning of responsibility for me. I liked having a job to do and felt important knowing that my club needed me. Along the way, there were so many staff that helped me. They had vibrant but calm personalities that latched onto me over the years. There was always, I can't pick him out in the crowd right now, but there was always, Big Mike, big man upstairs. Anita Cowley was like a friend that I could always go to. Casey, Miss Norma, Bertina, and Jordan were always there to guide me back to the right path when I would venture off. Alan, Seawalk, Tony would always make me happy and laugh even on my worst days. My life had turned around for the better so quickly. After my mom left, things were so uncertain, but now my life was stable and consistent. Of course, even in the best of circumstances, challenges still come. In the summer of 2010, tragedy struck the Boys and Girls Club. A club member named Lanasia was tragically killed. She was in 8th grade, just a year older than me, and she was part of the same social group I hung out with since elementary school. For most 7th graders, there has been little thought or talk about death. Until then, I hadn't known anyone who died, and this completely rocked my world. I didn't know how to respond. I had never dealt with anything like this before. The whole club felt it. Staff and children mourned together, and even though it was a tragic loss, it made us closer as a community. It showed us children that the staff hurt and felt pain just like we do. Everyone was there for each other, and through it all, I realized that the club was so much more than just a fun place to hang out. It was truly my second family. I attended the club on East 9th Street all the way through middle school, and when I started at Proctor R. Hug High School, I joined the Boys and Girls Club on our school campus. Today, I am a senior and still very active in my club. I'm the secretary of our Keystone Club and help work the snack bar and organize dances and other activities. I still finish my homework at the club, even though there are no more sticker boards. And in 10th grade, I was accepted into the Upward Bound program through UNR. Over the last 2 years, this program has helped me get ready for college through tutoring and college prep sessions, plus helped me with scholarships and federal financial aid. Education is very important in my life, which is something that my dad instilled in me and the Boys and Girls Club helped reinforce. When I was in elementary school, I watched my dad finish college and earn his bachelor's degree. A few years later, he got his master's. I plan to follow in his footsteps next year and attend college myself. I want to eventually earn my master's degree and become a dental hygienist because I love the way that they make me feel when I go. They're always so bubbly and have nice smiles. And and I've been told I'm a nice person, so I think that fits. If I didn't have the club in my life, I really don't know where I would be right now because they had such a big part in shaping me into the person I am today. I honestly believe I would have had less of a childhood without the club. In a black and white picture, the club brought a lot of color. I was introduced to diverse people and situations. I tried new things and was pushed out of my comfort zone. The club taught me that it's okay to be uncomfortable in new situations because you learn to adjust and grow from the experience. The Boys and Girls Club was there for me through sadness, happiness, pain, and hurt. It gave me shoulders to cry on and hands to wipe away my tears. The people I met through the club were always there, and over the years, the club has never given up on me or left me stranded and wondering why. I hope to have my own family one day, and my kids will definitely be members of the Boys and Girls Club. I still stay in touch with my mom, and unfortunately, her life hasn't changed much. I know she feels bad she didn't give me more when I was younger, but I don't blame her for her choices. I can only imagine how she felt the day she left me on the courthouse steps. It must have been the most devastating decision she had to make, but it turned out to be the best gift she could ever given me. Looking back on my past, I realized I could have taken a very different path. I could have chosen to be a victim of my circumstances or followed the negative path modeled by others in my life. But my dad and the Boys and Girls Club have inspired me to be so much more. I don't want to be stereotyped. I don't want to be judged by my background, my gender, or my skin color. I want to be an individual who makes her own unique mark on this world. I'm excited at the possibilities ahead of me because I know I have the independence, self-confidence, and incredible support system around me to accomplish whatever I set my mind to. Thank you.